Welcome back, and thank you very much for staying with us. The Federation of the Steel and Engineering Industries of Southern Africa says it's extremely concerned that the crisis in the local steel industry will continue to worsen this year. International concern has been sparked by the U.S. Commerce Department's calls for a tariff of at least 53% on all steel imports from 12 countries, including South Africa, which, if accepted, could create market distortions. Australia says it's seeking further clarity on Trump's proposed tariffs, and negotiators trying to rework the NAFTA trade deal, which could also be hit by this prospect, which could complicate car making in North America, one of the most sensitive issues in the talks. However, Japan says exports of steel and other products are not a threat to U.S. national security.
SABC says this is really a matter of enormous concern. It says the latest developments have the potential of further dampening production in the local steel industry, reducing steel exports to the U.S., squeezing margins and depriving the steel industry of much needed foreign reserves. It says the situation is further compounded by a low domestic growth scenario which does not augur well for the local steel production. For growth in apparent steel consumption to be sustainable, the overall economy's GDP has to grow by at least 5%. The South African economy has not grown at those levels since 2007. On a recent trip to the US, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull raised the matter directly with Trump.
Now, at this point in time, we don't have clarity from the administration about whether or not an exemption will be in place for Australia and whether or not this will be a unilateral imposition of tariffs across the board. I've put a call through to Secretary Ross, U.S. Commerce Secretary, and have requested for he and I to be able to speak as soon as possible to go through the detail of this announcement. So we will continue to be strong advocates for Australian interests. We will continue to engage with the US administration, not only in terms of the work that we've done up until this point, but also the work that will come very intensively over the days ahead until such time as we see the detail around the President's announcement.
Automakers and other users of the metals are also worried about the retaliatory tariffs that might affect their finished products. Members of the Farmers for Free Trade say the announcement invites retaliation that they are deeply concerned will hurt American farmers. They say the tariffs are very likely to accelerate a tit-for-tat approach on trade, putting U.S. agricultural exports in crosshairs. Japanese Trade Minister told reporters that Japanese exports of steel and aluminium to the United States posed absolutely no threat to U.S. national security. SABC's CEO Kaiser Nyesumba says although the Federation also called for the imposition of tariffs on some foreign imports into South Africa, it did so only when it believed there was unfair competition as a result of manufacturing subsidies and export incentives, as is the case with some Asian imports. Nyesumba has called on the Department of Trade and Industry to speedily engage its U.S. counterpart in an effort to resolve this matter. Diabo Seto, SABC News, Johannesburg.